Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Welcome to the Brass Ass Podcast, folks. I am your host, Suitcase Ace, and now you're listening to the Brass Ass Podcast, folks, on YouTube, and also our main platform is Spotify, amongst a few other platforms out there for our podcast. Look, I got something really good for you here today. I want to get right into it. I want to talk about the importance of understanding your role in the game of hockey. You know, as players get older, folks, and start playing on a more, let's say, competitive teams, things start to change. You know, ice time is no longer equal. Winning starts to, be more emphasized more, and different roles have to be filled by players in order to build a successful team and a solid team going, towards the playoffs, folks. And you know what? Some people do disagree with this thinking. But some, on the other hand, say that they agree as long as their kid is still on the first line. And then there's the small minority who fully agrees with this reality. Personally, as long as it's age appropriate, folks, I'm 100% on board with this, and think that, being part of a team that emphasizes, these three ideas, teaches a lot of valuable life lessons. Because the reality is, in the real world, folks, life is not always fair. And someone is probably going to get a promotion or make more money than you at some point, even though you think that you deserve it more. And I think, that's one of the best lessons, I ever learned throughout my time in the game of hockey, right? The importance of understanding your role and accepting it in order to make the team better. Truly, it's a humbling, right? Honestly, it's a humbling and often difficult experience at the beginning. Because let's face it, we live in often selfish, me first type of world these days. The world's changing, but that's the reality. And sports and hockey are no different. Nearly everyone thinks, especially the delusional people sitting up in the stands, which translate into the player, right, that they should be on the first line, on the power play, and on the ice protecting the 1-goal lead late in the third period. But the reality is, we all know that just isn't true. And here's the crazy part. That's okay. We have this image in our head as hockey players that if we aren't the first line center, then we aren't as good or important to our team's success. Well, I'm here, right, on the Brass Ass Podcast, folks, to tell you that is completely false. In fact, I would argue that you would have a hard time finding a really good hockey team at any level that didn't have a lot of depth, right, and role players to go along with their top end talent. I look at some of the most successful teams that I've ever coached and played on, and those teams were recognized by outsiders because of a few of our top end offensive style players. But when I look back at those teams, I think about a couple of the stay-at-home defensemen who were so strong in our zone and in front of our own net. And I think about a few of those role players whose specialty became killing penalties and blocking shots. And I got to tell you, I'll be the first to admit, not the most glamorous jobs, but nonetheless, folks, absolutely vital to the success of our hockey teams. And the reality is that you can't have 4 first-line centers. You need to have, that third-line center who could shut down an opposing top offensive line and maybe occasionally chip in offensively. Just like you need that fourth line to be strong in the defensive zone and give you a few great shifts when the team needs it. You know, I got to tell you something. I'm not saying that anyone should ever settle with their role, especially when still playing minor hockey. But what I'm saying is that you should embrace your role for whatever it is and make the most of it. You have to be able to look at it as if, just simply doing your job, right? And holding up your end of the bargain. For me, I've always related to the wheel, right? The wheel. What I mean is, each player on the team is a different spoke on that wheel. So when you have 17 to 20 guys or girls that are doing their job, the wheel's strong and sturdy and rolls along smooth. But when you have a few guys or girls that aren't buying in, along with those ones, the delusional that's in the crowd, if they're not buying in, those few, well, I got news for you. The wheel can still move and function, but it's not nearly as efficient or solid as you want. And here's the thing. When that road starts to get bumpy and tough, that's when the wheel will fail you. The team falls apart. So whether you play every other shift or one shift a period, I got something to find a way to play a part and contribute to your team. If you aren't getting a ton of ice time, well, be a great teammate. Encourage your teammates, pump them up, show them that you genuinely you want them to succeed. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you can learn and think this way, you're going to make it 100 times further as a hockey player in the game of hockey, yes, than if you don't. And remember, that it takes all types of players to build a successful hockey team. Players and coaches, make sure, one of the spokes that's helped carrying the team, the weight. Make sure that you're one of the spokes that's helped carrying the team. I am your host, folks, Suitcase Ace. You're listening to the Brass Ass Podcast, folks. Again, we're on YouTube and we're on Spotify. You have just listened to the rest of the story.